Hey folks, welcome to video 6 of the Guitar Chords 101 course. And I just want to take a minute here to thank you for sticking with me this far. The first couple videos might have been a little dry, but hopefully it's starting to get a little more interesting here in the last couple videos. And in this video, we're going to talk about an exciting topic for me because we're talking about 7th chords, and these are common in jazz, which I'm a huge fan of. The addition of the 7th note interval adds a nice mellow tone, and it's just very soothing to the ears, in my opinion. Okay, in the last video, we finally got to dig in and look at some chord formulas for some triad chords. And triads have roots, thirds, and fifths, but 7th chords also include the 7ths as well. The technical name for a chord with 4 notes is called a tetrad. Okay, let's get right into it and look at some formulas for some 7th chords. The easiest is the major 7th chord, and it's simply a major triad, a root, major third, perfect fifth, and it has a major 7th added onto it. So we have 4 notes here instead of 3. Then we have the minor 7th chord, and this is going to be a minor triad, a root, minor third, perfect fifth, and then a minor 7th added onto it. So once again, the major 7th chord is a root, major third, perfect fifth, major 7th. The minor 7th chord is root, minor third, perfect fifth, minor 7th. Okay, I want to introduce a new chord to you here called the dominant chord. But here we have a root, major third, perfect fifth, and a minor 7th. So it's kind of a combination of a minor and a major chord. And this creates a very bluesy sound. And it's one of the most important chords that you need to know about in jazz and blues. It's very versatile, meaning it can be altered in many ways. You can raise or lower the fifths or the ninths. And extensions are often played with it, like ninths, 11ths, or 13ths. I just want to throw in a quick note here and say something about the naming convention of dominant chords. The name of a major, minor, augmented, or diminished chord simply uses those words in the chord names. However, dominant chords just list the root note followed by 7, or the highest extension played. So for example, a C dominant chord is called a C7, but if it has a 13th added to it, it would be called a C13. Although this would be called a C13, it would still contain a major third and a minor 7th. And that major third and minor 7th are essential to forming that dominant chord. That's what makes it called the dominant chord. So moving on, another important chord is also called the half diminished chord. And in jazz it's often called the minor 7 flat 5 chord. And this chord is just a diminished triad, meaning a root, minor third, diminished fifth, and it has a minor 7th added to it as well. It's called half diminished because only half of the structure of the chord, meaning the triad portion, is diminished. The other half is just a minor 7th. Then we also have the diminished 7th chord, and that's going to be a root, minor third, diminished fifth, and a diminished 7th. And that diminished 7th also happens to be the enharmonic equivalent of a major 6th. You can also augment or raise the 5th of major or dominant chords, and these would be the same formulas as the originals, but have raised 5ths. So an augmented major 7 chord would be a root, major third, augmented 5th, major 7th. When a dominant chord has a raised or lowered 5th or a 9th note, it's often called an altered chord. Another less commonly used chord is the minor major 7th chord. And that's where we have a minor triad with a major 7th added. So this would be a root, minor third, perfect fifth, major 7th. Okay, so that about covers all the 7th chords, but I also want to touch on 6th chords as well, because these are also very common in jazz. These are just triad chords with 6th added to them instead of 7th. So a major 6th chord would be a major triad with an added major 6th interval. A minor 6th chord would be a minor triad with a major 6th. This would also be called a minor major 6th chord. If you ever see or hear the term C6, This is also the same as a C major 6 chord. It's not dominant, even though it sounds like it is, because it can't be dominant because it doesn't contain a minor 7th. Okay, so the chords I've covered up to this point are all of the qualities that are usually assigned to chords, whether they're triads, 6 chords, or 7th chords. Get to know these formulas because they're crucial to your ability to understand chords on the guitar. In fact, when you know your intervals on the fretboard and you know your chord formulas, you can pretty much throw out your chord dictionaries, your chord books, out the window because you already have the knowledge you need to form just about any chord you want. Of course, I say that as a figure of speech. Don't really go throw out your chord books. They are useful when you're first learning your chords and learning your basic shapes. But the point is, you've got the knowledge you need already stored in your head. So then it's just a matter of taking that knowledge to the fretboard and putting it to good use. Now there's one other type of chord that I didn't touch on in this video, and I'll talk about that in the next video. And I also want to get you familiar with the various chord symbols that are used on lead sheets or sheet music. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you then.